There's a reason that the human state of being is measured by its capacity to get back up again. When we need to start again, that's what we do. If we've learned anything from the disruption of recent times, it's that everything can change in the blink of an eye. The gathering waves of digital transformation and social reckoning have swept us into a new time and space. In this new territory, beyond the maps of the known, we must forge common values to help us navigate, explore, and unearth the power and potential of our brave new world. We must craft new mythologies, new narratives, stories of sharing, stories of integrity, stories of solidarity. We have the tools to do it. Our capacity to imagine is limitless. We store in our minds an unending chain of virtual realities waiting to come to life. We can and we must harness that boundless power within all of us to create a new reality. A reality where everyone benefits from our compassion and our dedication to making things better. Better public health, cleaner energy systems, a healthier planet. With just the brains in our heads and the fingers on our hands, we have imagined, built, and designed great sprawling civilizations, complex networks of production, systems of law and order, and artificial intelligence. What we can achieve when we connect and combine our collective will is astonishing. When we come together with hope, innovation, and creativity, and an intention to transcend our self-imposed limitations, we can do anything. We can uplift all people from all corners of the planet. We can set in motion a new set of values in action to anchor future generations in a notion of possibility and prosperity that we can only imagine today. The Values 20 engagement group is building the bridges to a brighter future, one value at a time.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the V20 Summit. My name is Marisa Faccio.
And my name is Stefano Petti.
And we are the co-chairs of this year's Values 20 group. We are delighted to welcome you in person here in the heart of Rome, in the beautiful venue of Fondazione Civita, which we thank for their hospitality, and online at our website to participate in our last event for this year.
At the outset, let us thank the Italian government, chair of this year's G20, in the person of Senator Benedetto Della Vedova, Under Secretary of State of Foreign Affairs, for being with us today. Thank you. We hope that this opportunity will strengthen a relationship that had to deal with the difficulties imposed by the pandemic. We should also like to thank RAI, the Italian broadcasting public company, for their partnership, and all those who have dedicated time and resources for today's discussions.
The Values 20 group is a community of values experts and practitioners from all over the world who seek to actively engage with a group of 20 countries. The V20 was launched in 2020 in Saudi Arabia, and we wish to recognize the presence in the room of some of the most proactive founders. The V20 was launched to add depth to the understanding of values in public policy and to promote values-based institutional decisions.
We are convinced that fostering human-centered policies can contribute to overcoming global challenges in a structured way. We came together for the first time last year to highlight the notion that values are principles or standards of behaviors, one's judgment of what is important in life, and what they should inform and inspire all aspects of human activities at the civil, political, economic, social, and cultural level, and assist us to determine what is important individually and as communities. We confirm that commitment.
For 2021, the V20 has identified 3 driving values that were paired with the 3 priorities set by the Italian presidency of people, planet, and prosperity. Our experts have developed recommendations for the G20 that are inspired by the values of integrity, solidarity, and sharing. Integrity concerns the personal sphere and addresses how consistently we deal with our own values in various contexts, how people manage conflicting values, such as self versus collective interest, or the trade-off between individual freedoms and respect towards others.
Solidarity concerns the public sphere and focuses on how we create, develop, and maintain unity between individuals, groups, or societies, what contributes to the formation and mutual awareness and care of common interests, similarities, and sympathies. Sharing concerns the cultural sphere and deals with the joint use of tangible and non-tangible resources, what is needed to provide, operate, and maintain resources, and how we can distribute its gains in a fair and sustainable manner across regions and generations.
In 2020, the V20 brought the value of values to the fore of the policy agenda of the G20. We believe that the worsening of some of the most pressing global crises should be addressed in ways in which values in action can turn those crises into opportunities to ensure that no one is left behind, and that decision makers progressively and comprehensively revise the merits and methods of their work. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, humanity has been put to the test by an unpredictable invisible threat that has disrupted the lives of billions of people, urging institutions and communities to face a sanitary emergency that has impacted socioeconomic relationships, generating tragic outcomes all over the world. The challenges posed by COVID-19 have been addressed by mobilizing intellectual and financial resources that have highlighted how different backgrounds can work together for common objectives. This competitive and coordinated cooperation was possible because the world community is rooted in values, universal values that allowed a swift response to an unprecedented tragic global challenge.
The path back to normal provided by the arrival of the vaccines should be consolidated and equally shared with the world without delay. In this scenario, values became central to fostering new international relations and actions. We should like to take this opportunity to commend the holding of an extraordinary meeting of the G20 on Afghanistan that, among other things, highlighted the need for a rapid vaccination campaign in Afghanistan to fully administer previously donated vaccines via COVAX and stand ready to provide more, and the provision of substantial relief for migrants and refugees with a special focus on women and children. We have reserved a special session this morning to Afghanistan to share some success stories of solidarity and cooperation between institutions and non-state actors.
Our communiqué, that will be read out shortly, presents recommendations that are the result of the work of 3 task forces, which have been developed in themes derived from the priorities set by the Italian presidencies of the year's G20, People, Planet, and Prosperity, and will be presented to you by our Sherpa, Marco Perduca. Marco, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think before moving to the reading of the communiqué, which will be shortened for sake of time, it's a 16-page document that you will find on our website. We're honored to have online Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Rashid, who was the G20 Sherpa for Saudi Arabia and the Assistant Minister of Finance. Do we have you?
Yes, can you hear me and see me?
Not yet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Here you are. Welcome. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you all, and thank you very much. Dear Honorable V20 delegates and guests, I'm very pleased to be with you today to witness your great work to build upon your successful launch of the V20 during the Saudi presidency of the G20 last year. and witnessed today how your efforts and focus on integrity, solidarity, and sharing supports the G20 in its quest for the transformation of human dynamics in support of people, planet, and prosperity. At the start of our presidency in 2020, we have witnessed many great difficulties worldwide because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whilst it has shifted many of our plans in our presidency, it affirmed many as well. The importance of multilateralism, the importance of sustainable development and taking care of our planet. Human resources are our best assets and most important gift, and exemplary leadership in holistically combating COVID pandemic. Fast forward to today, it is abundantly clear that a better understanding of values means a better understanding of human aspirations. Therefore, values should be the frontier and the common denominator for the work of the G20. I would like to borrow a few lines from Mark Carney's book, Values, Building a Better World for All. He said, our world is full of fault lines, growing inequality in income and opportunity, systematic racism, health and economic crisis from a global pandemic, mistrust of experts, the threat of climate change, deep threats to employment in a digital economy with robotics on the rise. These fundamental problems and others like them stem from a common crisis in values. Drawing on the turmoil of the past decade shows how market economies have evolved into market societies where price determines the value of everything. When we think about that, when we think about what we as individuals value most highly, we might list fairness, health, the protection of our rights, economic security from poverty, the preservation of natural diversity, resources, and beauty. The tragedy is these things that we hold dearest are too often the casualties of our 21st century world, where they ought to be our bedrock. So after reading those lines from Mark Carney, I would say what we need from engagement groups in general, and the V20 in specific, is to advance a human-centric approach to public policy. And my understanding is that the V20 intends to demonstrate how values play a pivotal role in catalyzing the G20 policy objectives and realizing the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. With this, I conclude with thanking you for your immense efforts and momentum in the values world, and thank you for the invitation to speak to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdulaziz Rashid, and we hope that with the communique that I will read now, we will, in a way, respond to your hopes and desires to hear from the work of the V20. As said, the communique that has been prepared over the last few months will address the priorities set by the G20 this year, people, planet, and prosperity, and we'll also look at what has interested the entire world for the last year and a half, which is public health. I will not read the entire document because it's very long, but I will concentrate on the main points. Concerning people, recent world events have signaled the need to revitalize mutual trust between governments and citizens and build the new capabilities required to address the global challenges we are facing. Nonviolent governance, values-based education, valorized care work, and institutional transparency are central to this endeavor. The V20 calls on the G20 to act as a sophisticated rudder. Governments should discover, validate, and diffuse lessons of nonviolence governance from society and accompany those processes with the necessary adaptation of institutions and policies. To this end, governments should adopt repositories, benchmarking, peer review mechanisms in collaboration with independent institutions, academia, and other governments to develop indicators that validate and diffuse non-violence at the national, subnational, and international level of governance. At the international level in particular, governments should benchmark and report on lessons learned and generalize their usage from one national or subnational context to other social and political contexts and share the findings. integrate sustainable values-based education, partner with UNESCO to integrate and promote Sustainable Development Goal number 4, significantly target 4.7 by 2030. Education for sustainable development will ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. Build on the recommendations of the G20 Education Ministers meeting in 2021 to promote a strategic education task force with representative experts who can advance value-based education to offer solutions to post-pandemic challenges like blended teaching and learning, educational poverty, global cooperation and commitments, and sustainable development. The task force could also become or promote a clearinghouse for contents, strategies, and effective practices for value-based education. Promote policies which redistribute the responsibility of care across multiple sectors, which aligns with the G20 priorities to encourage solidarity and symbiotic communities. Foster truth-telling and transparency in decision-making, sensitive to the repercussions of actions across countries. Considering the diversity and size of the group, limited meeting time, and constraints of remote virtual meetings, the G20 should adopt up-to-date team strategies and evaluation of results in its team processes throughout the year. Planet. Combating the climate crisis and preserving biodiversity are crucial to the survival of humanity. The attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals will require developing policy approaches that build on the many spontaneous examples of environmental integrity emerging from citizens and communities around the world to combat global warming, a stronger focus on pro-environmental educational programs, and a more participatory form of multilateralism. The V20 calls on the G20 to endorse policies that directly influence behavior through rewards or penalties, which are likely to strengthen pro-environmental values such as mandating recycling. These policies should be accompanied by values-based messages campaigns phrased in terms of values as a motivator. Since cultural, social, and demographic groups tend to differ in their value priorities, messages can be targeted based on known characteristics. Support longer-term educational programs designed to develop and strengthen pro-environmental values and behavior in schools. Values are largely stable in adults and are easier to change in younger populations. Strengthen the participatory form of multilateralism and multi-stakeholder mechanisms for consultation, which are vital in facing the challenges of our interconnected world. A planetary vision is essential to developing an identity that extends beyond national boundaries, strengthening human and ecological integrity, and empowering all stakeholders to pursue better policies in this regard. Prosperity. The pandemic has revealed the global extent and human cost of the digital divide. This divide can be bridged if investments in digital infrastructures are accelerated and expanded, especially in low and medium income countries. And for a more fair process and behavioral insights are integrated into the policy cycle. The efforts to promote digital solidarity should be implemented with a focus on gender equality and access to online tools and opportunities addressing women's needs, those of people living with disabilities, and the barriers that prevent them from fully utilizing the Internet. The V20 calls on the G20 to introduce fair processes policy, expand the mandate of the G20 Behavioral Insight Knowledge Exchange Network, BICAN, to consult and support the DFTF and FWG in designing policy processes which incorporate mandatory checkpoints for ethical reviews in accordance with the ethics standards of behavioral informed policy interventions. Integrate behavioral insights into the policy cycle and systematically use the evidence produced in the field of behavioral economics and related disciplines. Implement transparent mechanisms for stakeholders to design policy decisions based on a multi-contextual understanding of common challenges and incorporate analysis of sectoral inequalities, skills inequalities, and gender inequalities into the analysis for a new financial architecture. A last point would be public health. The above recommendations have focused on the three main G20 priorities of the Italian presidency. However, we cannot avoid addressing a critical fourth element, that of public health. We therefore propose a few specific reflections on recommendations in this area. The G20 Health Ministers Declaration committed to scaling up innovative approaches to move towards the achievement of universal health coverage through resilient, sustainable, person and community-centered, gender-sensitive health system. In advancing this commitment, immediate priority should be placed on activities including equalizing care activities and supporting solidarity activities at the center of communities as proactive preventive approach to redefine the continuum of care to be everywhere we go in this world, collectively and as individuals. The V20 calls on the G20 to shift the focus to proactive prevention of disease, involving all nations in research and development to develop advanced science and technology-based solutions, extend the lifespan of our aging population to ensure proper life care requires support from the government, public and private sectors as a social responsibility and commitment. It is government's turn to unite around common thinking of reassesses, redesign and redefine policy measures by capturing what was learned during the COVID-19 experience. Share know-how with others, allocate all necessary resources, including financial, to ensure a proactive and timely response, prioritize people and the planet and the subsequent impact on public health, commit with solidarity to any invention and prevention measures, initiate the transformation of healthcare and long-term care system, and consider defining common standards for all levels of care and bring all people under the safety of a universal healthcare. The V20 will continue to elaborate and share its contributions to promote the importance of including values and human-centric approaches in public policy design and implementation, and the V2021 looks forward to re-engaging experts and practitioners for 2022 to continue expanding the network of people, competencies, and ideas launched in 2020. So this is the document that is the product of over a year of deliberations and meetings, happen mainly online. It hasn't been easy, like as we all know, because we have been distributed around the world, but I think this is what we present today to the Italian presidency, and it's a pleasure now for me to give the floor to Senator Benedetto Della Vedova, a dear friend who is Under Secretary of State for the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marco. First, I would like to thank the Values 20 group for the invitation to this summit. I want to extend my gratitude to you, all the members of this group, for your work, your engagement, and valuable contribution of ideas that I'm sure you will provide as we approach the G20 Leaders Summit to be held in Rome in just 2 weeks. And I heard your reading of the communiqué. After 10 months of relentless work of the Italian G20 presidency, it is time to reap the fruits of the constant and precious engagement of all streams of work. I am particularly grateful to all those who have invested their time and energy in supporting our priorities, in suggesting new ways forward. The crisis we are witnessing today is unprecedented. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic is not over yet, even though vaccines are giving us hope for the future. At the same time, our planet is facing extraordinary threats in terms of sustainability, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Other crucial issues, such as the reform of the international trading system, digitalization and inequalities both between and within nations, need immediate response from policymakers and the civil society. In order to respond to all of these challenges, we, as the Italian G20 presidency, have set up an ambitious program embedded in our 3 pillars, people, planet, prosperity. Focusing on people has meant putting inclusion at the core of our presidency, and we have embraced the same human-centered approach, which I know has inspired your work too. At the same time, we have insisted on the need to protect our planet. We are well aware of the inextricable link between human and environmental health. Last but not least, we have also given the utmost importance to international trade and digitalization. The aim of the Italian presidency has been to build back better. We are firmly convinced that it is necessary to look beyond the current emergency in order to build a new society underpinned by the principles of sustainability, inclusivity and resilience. To achieve this fundamental goal, we believe that policies, though essential, are not enough. We need the civil society to be fully involved. We need people to take action. Involvement and action, I believe, come from a sense of common belonging. In other words, from shared values. The values you, the V20, have identified as central: integrity, solidarity, sharing, are perfectly in line with the priorities of the Italian presidency. Indeed, we strongly believe that a fair access to vaccines is crucial to overcome the pandemic. Sharing doses with those countries that need them is a perfect image of global solidarity. In the same vein, the efforts towards a more sustainable future, one of the main commitments of the Italian G20 presidency, will not produce results unless it is accompanied by a responsible use of all global common resources. Hence, the centrality of the value of sharing. As these examples show, we, policymakers and the civil society, must cooperate strongly in a concerted effort towards a better future for all. To conclude, please allow me to thank you again for the excellent contributions you have provided so far, and thank you for all the bold proposals and ideas that came out of this summit. I wish you all good work.
Thank you, Senator Della Vedova. We'll now ask Marisa and Stefano to hand you over the physical version of the communique, and then we're all invited to take place outside in the terrace for a photo opportunity. We apologize with our people, the audience in the internet, that will miss the beautiful view that we have here in Rome. We are in the city center of the capital of Italy, as said before, in the heart of Rome, overseeing what used to be one of the first examples of civilization in this part of the world, which is ancient Rome. Thank you once again. We take a short break and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.